Guys, it's AJ here, aka Ahmed Jr. I have a bit of a story to share with you because the more life throws shit at you, so to speak. You start thinking like, what exactly does the you know executive branch, the law enforcement of the government has against you for some reason? Maybe look, maybe the way you look, perhaps, and you start wondering like, why are you the subject, of constant social, racial profiling and, just prejudice and discriminatory bias and defamation just because perhaps the way I look. So check this out. So I think in the last video I spoke about my incidents with the RCMP near Octopus. So, I go, yesterday and the day before that. So a few days ago, my friend and I, Abdul Hamid, the two of us that were involved in the incident, we were at home and a few days ago, this person of the name of Abu Saeed, he comes along and he drops some food for us because, we're three homeless people. We're not homeless, but, that's how it looks like. We're three homeless people. That my brother has his own, court battle for his own, child custody with his, so-called righteous wife, right? Which I have no doubt. But then, brings the food and from the door he drops it off like we just had ate. I do not want your food. Either you come in the door like a man and you talk to us and you understand our pain, because last I checked, for example, I am Syrian, right? I am Syrian. I was born Muslim. I'm an indigenous Palestinian. Born in the city of Damascus of Syria. So I'm not actually Syrian because I do not have the citizenship of Syria. So I was born in 1985, Damascus, Syria, and I came here when it was 1999, October 26th, actually. That's my PR record. And I went on for high school, university, did aerospace electronic system design engineering, graduated, worked with an over a decade of experience in the startup and world and high tech, telecom, automotive, you name it, like I spoke in the previous video. So it's not to repeat, but just to tie things together, you have to understand. So I come along here to start a new life chapter because remember, why did I leave Ottawa in the first place is the question. And I left Ottawa and I came here. So I come here and, I am thinking to my head, okay, let's go to the community mosque because, we have about 100,000 Muslim in Calgary area, just in Calgary. So there's about 100 Muslim, or so-called people, of the denomination that they call themselves Muslim. And, this is not specific to Arabs, so if you're Syrian or Jordanian, Palestinian, you name it, right? So it doesn't matter, we're Muslims, you got Muslims all across, all walk of life. So there's about 100,000 people, and the second largest group is about, 399 or close to 400,000, and those are the secular people, the secular group. And then you have about 523 or 525,000 people who call themselves Christian. So again, you got Christians, secular people or atheists. Secular, basically they follow science, which is, again, science is nothing but what? The observation of, universal and natural phenomena that we observe in this world. So no problem. But there's a distinction between science, true science, right? Or, when you look at the universe and you observe nature, and pseudoscience. So, and this is not the point, but I'm just trying to, give the distinction. So here we are, the three of us. And my friend and I, we go to, I tell the person Abu Said that, we do not want food. We want to talk to the people because the guy comes, mashallah, his beard up to here, and he's wearing the whole, Muslim attire. I look like Gandhi, look where exactly I'm staying. Look, this is my grandpa, Not really, I'm Syrian. The person, of course, is Indian. Maybe if I wear a fucking turban, like I would look like a, turban to the side. Maybe that would be the new Muslim way to fucking call yourself Muslim because, Anyway, so the point is this, the weirdest thing happens ever, that we get the help from the people least expected. And, my brother, in the picture, and other brothers that I've met that had shown compassion, right, and genuine, interest to helping a human being in need. I'm not in need, so to speak, because I'm in need. I'm an entrepreneur CEO of my own life, so to speak. I quit on my own, accords. I made the conscious decision in 2021 to leave my job. I was making six figures in a hardware product development startup, or a company that helps startups, so design service firm, and suddenly I decided to go and work in the renewable energy and start looking into net zero, and did my research for 6 months from June 2023. And because in 2021, when I left the corporate world, I had gone through some hardship, personal life matter with my ex-wife. I can speak of that now, but at the time it wasn't possible to speak about it. So I left the house in August, and I was getting my first contract job to work on some electrical vehicle design for utility applications on a farm. And I was the prime engineer responsible for the motors and the battery system and basically the drivetrain. Anyways, in September I enroll in a boot camp to do my web development, 12 weeks extensive boot camp. It's by Lighthouse, and I graduated, and I could do web apps, develop. I mean, I don't have to be professional with 10 years of experience, but I can put up an app that does a function, that does something. So I did my first app on solar, because if you're on solar and there's a huge gap between the end consumer, so to speak, knowledge and what the actual technology is about and the limitation thereof. So you are being scammed left and right and center, my friend. I can tell you that not because I'm in the industry, I'm trying to get business from you. I would not even sell you solar. So yes, I started posting under 613 solar, but the intent was not so that I can go and sell you solar, because the math doesn't just add up, man. It's all bogus technology, and at best in Canada you have about 4 to 6 hours of sunshine on average. That's it, times 1250 on average. Even if you call it 1400 kilowatt hour per kilowatt peak, and Bob's your uncle, you need an average size system of 7.2 kilowatt peak to basically give you the average annual consumption for your home annually. Electricity is going up. In 2007 they were about 5 cents kilowatt hour. That's the consumption. Of course, it's doubled that when you receive it. And then now we're paying about on average 12 cents before taxes and delivery charges and so forth. But you end up paying closer to 25 cents kilowatt hour, between 23 and 25 cents kilowatt hour, really. So now if your consumption is in the order of 1,000 kilowatt hour on average, that's $250 a month. That's over the next 15 years it will double. So now you be paying $500 a month. So people, they have this idea, the incentive that, well, we can go solar because we will save and we hedge against rising energy costs. And maybe you are environmentalist, and perhaps you do not like fossil fuel because you've been brainwashed with the propaganda that it's fossil fuel that is causing climate change, which is, again, that's subjective to yourself. I've done my own research, so I can speak with facts. Because when you look at the net zero agenda, and what is it about? It's about carbon tax and carbon cap, so to speak. So you burn 1 kilogram or 1 liter of gasoline, you get 2.2 kilogram of CO2 as a byproduct of the burning process. So you have a chemical reaction happening. You have fuel plus oxygen, gives you, and fire gives you a combustion, gives you energy, and the whole thing. And energy is conserved. So 20%, if you are a gasoline engine, goes towards the actual movement of the vehicle from point A to point B, whereas 80% is wasted. And in diesel, it's slightly higher emission, 2.6 kilogram versus 2.2 kilogram for gasoline. But guess what? The efficiency is double that. So if you have a diesel engine, it would be on average 40% efficient. So 40% goes towards actual movement from A to B versus gasoline, which is only 20%. And there's a scientific reason behind it. I can explain, but this is just to show you the level of intellectual dialogue or debate that I as an engineer have to entertain and start looking at the data. And we follow our process in engineering to design you a gadget, an EV or a toy or an airplane or you name it. I finish aerospace electronics, so I can tell you a thing or two about battery systems and thermal management and like how to charge and balance cells and all sort of things. But just because you're ignorant perhaps and you do not have that knowledge, maybe you get your knowledge from some pick your favorite YouTube reviewer, and you think you know a thing or two about LFPs and lithium ion and phosphate, and you have no clue. You're just listening to the media and what they're telling you, and they promote and market EVs as safe and effective. Again, the batteries, lithium fire, you cannot put out or put off with water, because There's a very simple formula for water. It's H2O, whereas lithium is Li. So lithium is number 3 on the periodic table. H2O, so H is number 1, and H will violently react with water because the H2O will separate the H2 molecules, will separate, the atoms will separate because H2 is a free gas, will separate from the O because lithium is, is on the table before O. O is number 8, and lithium is 3. So 1 is closer to 3, and the reaction happens. Very volatile. So that is kind of, chemistry 101 for you, and a background of where I bring my research and what I do for a living is to basically, I was an engineer, help build, products from conception, ideation, all the way to mass production. So I've been to China, I've been to Japan, I've been to USA, I've been to, different places, across, right? Different market verticals and different application domains, from automotive, defense, and so forth. So all this to say is that you are speaking with a person who is of high intelligence, someone who finished aerospace engineering, worked in industry, understands a lot about, so to speak, how the world works from a digital point of view, telecommunication, because you always need those, telecom gear. Without telecom gear, you could not have the internet. There are cables, fiber optics links, they are called, which are laid on the floor of the oceans. That's right. And when you look at the state of the world and you see all these volcanoes and all these earthquakes and all sort of things, the links do go down, and there's a reason why the internet sometimes feels sluggish. And it's not just because there's people on the internet, it's because the infrastructure is being destroyed by so many natural and non-natural, causes, such as, the war in Russia, the, war in Middle East, and you name it. So there are wars happening around the world, across the world. It's not just specific to the Middle East. I happen to be of Syrian, background. In Damascus, I was a born refugee, right? Like I said, I'm an indigenous Palestinian. But that's my history. That's where I come. We came to Canada for a better life opportunity. So my father, he's a skilled worker, electrical engineer. So we had immigrated or applied for immigration visa in 1997. 1999, we had immigrated to Canada, and because my dad does not have the 1 year experience for, Canadian experience. Therefore, he cannot work as an engineer. Like, go figure, man. Bridge is a bridge. You go to Canada, bridge is a bridge. You go to the USA, bridge is a bridge. Right? It's the same thing. Now, in Canada, they make it that very clear because, they're all about safety. Right? Which, remember, if you are a Canadian engineer, you finish your civil engineering degree or any other degree for that matter, we wear a ring. I'm not wearing my ring for a reason. Because it's not the ring that makes you a professional engineer. And then you have to apply for some sort of accreditation, body that, you go and you simply write an ethic exam. And they test you on the ethics, essentially, your integrity as an engineer, because there's a story behind the ring. There's a reason why, we pride ourselves as engineers, and it's to remind us that integrity is above all. Because often in engineering, you have conflicting requirements with, competing deadlines, and the customer comes and, they have no budget, but they want everything under the sun. Or, the city of Ottawa comes, or some other city comes, and they want to build a bridge, but they want to cut corners. And, maybe the city of Ottawa itself does not want to cut the corners, but somebody else who's bidding on the job is cutting corners, and somehow, they place the bid, and, perhaps they know somebody inside the city, municipality, and their bid is pushed through, and before you know it, they are awarded the contract, and corruption is everywhere. And this is why your roads are always shit. Potholes everywhere. So this is kind of where it's important to understand. At the end of the day, you do something because it is integrity. So I don't have to wear my ring to prove that I'm an engineer. I have the record. You go to Carleton Archives, class 2009. I graduated in June 2009. I have the degree posted on my website, solarwatts.io. Just go about the about section, and you could read about AJ and all his achievements, so to speak, right? So yes, I lost about what? When you look at the pictures, I look a bit different than the AJ in the pictures, because I had a bit more weight on me. I actually lost 50 pounds, not because I lost 50 pounds. I wanted to lose 50 pounds. That picture was, I believe, in 2021, just post, around COVID time, right? 2021, because I had, remember, I started my my work, contract work on that EV vehicle project I told you about in August, and in September I had enrolled in the extensive boot camp for web development. So that, I know, in 2022 basically is when I had come back to be with my ex, but apparently she was ready to move on, and in all this time that I had thought to myself, I'm leaving so she can think for herself clearly what is that she wants from life. I come back and she tells me, well, okay, fine, one divorce. Last I checked, she was the Catholic. They do not believe in divorce. We married in church. I'm a Muslim, but it doesn't matter. Look, they think perhaps, I shouldn't be calling myself Muslim because, when I went to the community mosque, right? Again, this is the idea. I'm telling you a story because I'm coming to my story. This is kind of all, ties in together. I speak because there's a point I'm trying to get to, the moral of the story. Life is a story, so I don't want to tell you something it's too boring. But if I share a story, maybe, this is not something I read in a book, not something I watch on the TV. This is my life. So this is my experience, my own life experience that I'm going through right now as I speak to you. So basically, you go and I'm thinking to my head, why is it that when I go to the mosque, I was born Muslim. Doesn't matter what I believe in, but I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew. It doesn't matter what I believe in, but this is what I was born as. So naturally, the people in the Middle East, because I come from Middle East, Damascus is the bad place right now. They got rid of the regime, right? They call the dictatorship regime of no other than Bashar al-Assad, for example. And I had nothing to say or do with the entire events because I was in Canada the entire time from 1999 till 2025 as we speak. I have gone and visited Damascus in 2010 for the first time after 10 years of being away from my homeland, so to speak, and my family. And I went down because my sister was getting married. So I went down with her, and also, I figured I'd take the opportunity so I can, meet my family. It's been forever. I got stuck for 7 weeks because, if you're born in Damascus, and if you're Syrian, you must be Syrian. And if you're not born to Syrian people, well, you're just what you are. So in my case, I'm an indigenous Palestinian, so I'm a refugee. But now, because I live in the country, of course, I have to serve in the military. It used to be compulsory. Like many countries around the world, the military is compulsory. So at the time, it was 2 years and a half when I left, Syria. And that's why a lot of the Syrian, like my family, for example, my uncles and all, had left Syria a long time ago when even Hafez al-Assad used to be the president. Bashar's dad or father, and then they never came back because there was a law that if you ever to come back and you have siblings, you must be taken to the martial court and you must be going to your compulsory service. So a lot of expats or so to speak people outside of Syria and their homeland choose not to come back. So this is kind of the the dynamic and the reality for many people who have lived in the Middle East, and I am a second generation in Damascus, right? So we come to Canada. I go to high school, I go to university, and here I am. I come to Calgary, Alberta, because of no other than the violation. That's right, the violation of my natural rights and freedom, which are safeguarded by the Constitution of Canada. Remember, when we came here, this was my dad's epiphany that we must go to Canada in 1999. We arrived here, but he had applied 2 years prior to that, and we got the green light to come, and we immigrated PR October 26, 1999. Great. I go to high school and all that, but fundamentally we came to pursue sorry, life and happiness. So life and happiness, this is why we came, and it's fundamental natural right that everybody have. You have, I have, everybody else travels and they leave their homeland, their culture, their family, everybody else behind, their belief, and they go and they migrate or immigrate to another place. Because they want to seek better life for themselves and their kids. And I've lived the Canadian dream, actually. Since I was 21, I bought my first house. I got married at the age 27. We got, our house bought before we even got married. We bought the house in June and we got married in August. So we had a house already waiting for us. This when I was 27. So, we had been married for over 10 years, me and my ex now. But, suddenly, because I see the world in a different view than she does, and she works for the government of Canada. So remember, she's born here and she's Catholic, and she's Spanish, and that's all great. I love her for I love her for who she was, but I still love her because she's the mother of my child. But we do not agree on certain things. So and she chose to leave. She chose to depart from this marriage, which is her choice, her prerogative. I cannot force her. But again, you have to understand the premise here. I mean, why is it when I go to Calgary, right? I'm driving from Ottawa, and I'm in Calgary, the RCMP, right? They are called. They got called. There's a suspicious car or whatever on their side of the road. Great, that's great. And then suddenly, we are, our vehicle is impounded. It's like minus 30, 25, minus 30 degrees, man. The frigid, 3:30 in the morning, near Octopus. And the car that I had rented a car. I was in Ottawa, and again, this is the reason why I'm speaking to you about this, because all this discrimination and injustice, so to speak, that I have gone through, I've experienced, causing bodily harm, emotional harm, and now they are trying to say, oh, well, those guys mentally unfit for trial because I go from Quebec, right? Initially, I've been assaulted by no other than the Quebec police in Gatineau. I go through the first, second, third, even the fourth, basically motion of the court, and I'm going to the Superior Court of Justice now, where on the 10th of September, finally, from an incident that took place on November the 17th, 2023, and I've gone through the court motion all the way to the Superior Court of Justice. Previous to me going and raising the matter to the Superior Court of Justice, on the 16th of August, the Crown Prosecutor wanted to essentially, drop charge number 1 and then, change charge number 2 and 3, essentially from blah, blah, blah to blah, 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 essentially, indictment to summary conviction. And again, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I had no reason to agree on some bogus, scheme, right? I did nothing wrong. So I insisted that I was innocent and, I want my matter to be moved and before the Superior Court of Justice, which they gave me a date on the 10th of September, and suddenly it's cancelled. So, a week before that or so, on the 24th of August, I'm pulled over in Ottawa on allegation that my driver license is, my driver license is suspended on the 24th of August. Now, I had gone through that in the past, and an RCMP in Ottawa had done so. He pulled me over on Parkdale, not Parkdale. I was off Island Park. He followed me, and I was off on Kirkwood. And he pulled me over, and, allegedly my driver license was suspended. But, he did act in good faith, and I had told him the truth that I did not know, I had no prior knowledge, and I had my valid insurance, so the RCMP let me go, believe it or not, because it's at his discretion. I've been driving for many, many years, and 0 at-fault accidents, and suddenly now I am being pulled over for suspended driver license, an offense that I have not, received the notice, and I had no prior knowledge. So he let me go. Great, thank you. That's great service, Whereas in Ottawa, when I was pulled over on the 24th of August, allegedly for suspended driver license, right? And again, I didn't know. I was just, flagged down. And, I'm thinking in my head, maybe it's because of my expired license plate, because, back in 2021, that was the last time I renewed my license plate because of COVID, right? We've gone through just pandemic and, everything's shut down, lockdown. And then my car, I only had one spot for my vehicle. And the other spot, we had none. And, I'd park on the street because of, there's no parking spots, on the projects in the winter. Good luck. So now I park on the street, and because of the lockdown and I'm working from home, I'm collecting parks day after day, day after day. Anyway, so that's beside the point. And, I'm thinking in my head, okay, maybe it's because of my expired, license plates. But again, the law has been revoked in 2021 when Doug Ford, actually the premier, had basically canceled it in lieu of carbon tax, which they had been cooking since 2018. And 19, they have been collecting carbon tax before it has even become an act in 2021, in June 2021. So I know all of this because I am well informed. I am involved and I engage in the community. I understand what is happening on a technology point of view as well as a geopolitical, because perhaps I just happen to be well versed with my history, with the world history, and with Canada's history. And last I checked, before I had to take the or even apply to the citizenship, I had to be in the country for 3 years straight, right? and then I would be able to apply and eligible to apply for Canadian citizenship exam, and I had to study history, geography, that is Canada's, that is, right, to demonstrate that I am a good citizen. I know my history as Canadian. I'm a proud Canadian. Damn right I am. I mean, I came here for a better life and opportunity. Not that I become the subject of discrimination, prejudice, discriminatory bias, and defamation by no other than the same country that is preaching to the world. We have the best two judiciary systems in this world. We have the French, or the civil law, which is based on the French secular agenda, so to speak, and she is he is she, it doesn't matter. It's like, and that's my point. You have a secular world that is, only, moved by pseudoscience, because, like I said, nature is nothing but observation. So when you look at the science of today's, it's not observation of nature, because you do not notice, so to speak, a homosexual lion with a lion. That never happens in the wild. Show me two gay lions and I'll shut up. So, this is not, to go on, again, I'm not here to deflect, but this is just my opinion. I have my own opinion. I have my own freedom of expression of thoughts. I'm not promoting any hate. I respect everybody. In fact, I met one of the transgender at the Montfort Hospital when I was unlawfully detained and locked up. So, name is Danielle. And we had a very good intellectual conversation. The person in questions, and I believe Danielle prefers to be called, so it was a he gone through the transformation, and but it was late because he is, or she is 40, actually. She's almost my age, and but the person is very well knowledgeable. I don't want to say he or she because I don't want to offend the person, but we had a very good intellectual conversation, and I learned from that person about some blockers, and the earlier you do it, the more success rate chances are, and whereas if you do it late, the voice was female voice, so to speak, like very soft, but he still had, or she still has, some facial hair, which, again, no prejudice here. I'm just sharing what I've experienced, what I've gone through, and we had a very good conversation, and did not feel intimidated or so to speak prejudged by me. I was just open, all ears. I do not take it that if someone at a young age or at any point in life decided to do something for themselves, that's their choice. So be it, your choice, man. Power to you. And that's what I believe. Everybody has that inalienable natural right of choice, and that's why we have a choice. At the end of the day, you have a choice. So we have the civil law, which is French based, like I said, secular, but we also have the common law. Unfortunately, the common law is really derived from the Magna Carta in 1215, which laid the foundation for the modern world, democracy that we call, right? And when you look at the history of the Magna Carta in 1215, there were crusades in 1215. So that was the midst of the crusades, and that's when essentially you had the Christians fighting the Muslims, and the Holy Land. Everybody's fighting over the Holy Land, man. Like, Earth is all one Holy Land. Why are we fighting over a specific territory and a specific denomination? Because at the end of the day, it's all about divide and conquer. And the people who don't understand the fact that propaganda can play a big role, because there's no way that you can convince me that your belief allows you to go and kill somebody in the name of your God, so to speak, without a just cause, because that would be just murder. And that's very simple. I mean, that's why we have a criminal code. I mean, you go back, Section 19, RSC, 1985, CC 46. That is basically ignorance of the law does not give you the excuse to commit the offense. And, the officers are the executive branch of the government. They are entrusted with our life. And then you have the government being the trustee. And then we have the citizen of the corporation called Canada as the beneficiary of the tax system, or the tax public trust. That's what it is, public trust. You can actually go and open an account called trust. So Canada Trust is a Canada Trust that, when you get paid, everybody get paid. There's money that goes to that trust. And the idea is, sovereignty. Canada will assert sovereignty, and that's why you have, budget for national defense. You have, certain things that, as a federal level, at a federal level, you need to assert sovereignty of the land, protect the land, because at the end of the day, Canada could not exist on the sea, right? I mean, we don't live on the sea. I mean, it's corporation, it's maritime law, yes, but at the end of the day, we are on the land here, we are all living. So we are all natural people, natural persons, that are calling ourselves Canadian citizen after we have proved. If you are not born in Canada, you must go through the naturalization process of being Canadian, and that takes 3 years if you apply It takes 2 years, so that's 5 years total from the time of application till the time of you being eligible or having your privilege of being Canadian citizen. Because again, Canada must trust you. There's a trust here. There's a trust relationship that is, binding between you and the government of Canada. And before that trust is established, you need to spend time in this, country, and you need to basically, work and build credit and show that you're good character, and you have no criminal record, and then 3 years you pass your exam, you speak the language, because we have English primary and French as secondary, and suddenly you have basically you're a good Canadian, so you have the privilege, the citizenship. Why? Because that's a contract. There's an obligation. Now the government of Canada has an equal responsibility towards you as a citizen, and that's why if I flag my passport, if you're Lebanese or Syrian or somebody else who happen to be Canadian passport holder, well, guess what? You just go to your nearest, Tim Horton across, and the Canadian government will come and pick you up, right? Well, obviously I was joking about the Tim Horton, but it's a icon. It's a Canadian icon, so you would go to a Canadian embassy and they will take care of you. So basically, yeah, that's kind of the contract law. And that's a law. That's a trust law. First, you have to establish the law, the trust, and then the contract between you and the government that the contract is that you, as long as you remain a law-abiding citizen, you will continue to enjoy the benefit of this taxpayer system, so to speak. We call ourselves Canadians. So we enjoy healthcare, free healthcare. It's not really free. It's a socialist country. Canada is a very socialist country, So essentially the middle class paying for the poor, and, they subsidize the taxes of the rich. That's what is happening, It's not rocketry. You don't need some conspiracy, movie to understand what I'm saying to you. If you live in the country long enough and you've worked your ass off, and, maybe you worked at minimum wage, you worked in the industry, in the high tech, and, you will understand a thing or two about when you have only 40 million people population in Canada. We have about 40 million people. We right now have 32 million that are working, close to 31 million. So roughly 75% of the population is working, whereas 15 years ago, we only had roughly 67% of the population working. So this means more seniors are working. Why? Because the life and the cost of living has gone up tremendously. And people cannot afford life here. And now we have carbon tax, which is unconstitutional. So when I talked about, 1215, the Magna Carta, there's a reason. Because similar to what we have with Trudeau, and where's your leader right now? He has resigned. So we've got King John of England at the time. He was raising the taxes unconstitutionally. He was, confiscating or robbing the land, so to speak. And he was going against his own inner circle of barons. So what did the barons do? And, the nobles, so to speak, and even the peasants, they were all arm in arm. And they essentially went to the Pope. This is 1215. I believe it was Pope, if I'm not mistaken, either John or Paul. One of the two. It's the two famous names, John Paul. Probably Paul. Paul II, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways. So 1215, you can look up the history. It's not my history, so to speak, but I know. And the idea is this, they forced King John of England to sign on the Magna Carta. Because the idea is that there was no one above the rule of the law. And the rule of the law of the time was the Bible, because the Holy Roman Empire, that was, the peak of the Holy Roman Empire, 1215, right? The Holy Roman Empire basically is called holy because they were following the Holy Bible. So essentially, if you lived in anywhere in, continental Europe, so to speak, right? Well, you are Roman. You belong to the Roman Empire. And the Bible was your rule of the law, right? And you must uphold the rule of the law. And, in the Bible, there's no man who is king who is above the rule of the law. Be it king, be it, so to speak, a peasant. It does not matter, because justice and the rule of the law does not differentiate, does not discriminate against the king versus non-king. And that was, basically the idea when you talk about common law in Canada, and which is English derived, like, the Commonwealth, so to speak. All those, countries have their laws essentially from, originating from the British Empire, right? And again, the British Empire is, you have basically London, which King John of England, so that's basically why we have the common law. The problem is this. More and more people are being secular in this world. So when you go argue common law in a Christian country, you lose. Yeah, nobody wants to listen to you. Nobody wants to talk to you because it's common law. But when you assert natural right, or when you assert your natural right and you argue natural right, well, guess what? There's no escape, because even science is nothing but an observation of natural, or I should say universal and natural phenomena that we, observe on this planet we call Mother Earth. And you are a natural person. Section 92 of the BNA Act 1867, basically allows you to assert your, individual sovereign estate because you are a natural person, whereas the federal government and their, agencies, so to speak, right, at arm's length, are nothing but corporations. Corporations is a word derived from the word corpse. Corpse is another word for dead. So now you have laws of the dead, or laws of the sea, because that's maritime law for you, so to speak, maritime law. And that is a dead entity. It's a fictitious entity. That's why your ID is in capital letter. That is your ID, individual sovereign estate. But you're a natural person. They cannot impose their law on you, right? It's not because they cannot do that. They are only able to do that because you consent to transfer your sovereignty to that of the state, because there's that trust that they will safeguard and protect your inalienable natural rights and freedom, because a life is too many to lose. And there's not enough gold in this world that you can do to bring back the life of someone that you love and has lost their life unlawfully, right? So the government knows this and understands this, because government is just a governing body, right? You are electing the government to do the right thing, and or basically, their number one priority is your safety and your well-being, and you are a liability, right? And that's why they have their own regulations, this and this and that, because at the end of the day, you are a liability to the government. So, but you don't have to always, go with what the government says. Not because I'm saying do not do so, but there has to be a clear breach of trust. When there's a clear breach of trust, and when now the law enforcement are trampling on your right as a human being, natural human being, because some bullshit administrative law that perhaps you broke. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I was driving. I did not know the fact that I made it from Ottawa all the way to Calgary, over 3,500 kilometers. And suddenly the RCMP now arguing with me that, my driver license has been suspended in Ottawa. I am in fucking Alberta. How is it possible that you have jurisdiction to look my profile, look my medical conditions from Alberta all the way in Ottawa? Well, answer simple. He's federal. He's RCMP. But he had no reason. If he was acting in good faith to do so. As far as I'm aware, I have zero criminal record, and under the Constitution of 1982, I have the right, for mobility, Section 6 of the Constitution Act, which is 1982, right? So when you speak about your Safety Traffic Act of 2000, guess what? That's an act of parliament that did not exist prior to 1982. So I'm asserting my individual state sovereignty pursuant to Section 92 of the BNA Act 1867. And now you are in violation of my natural rights and freedom, which are safeguarded by the Constitution, Part 1, Section 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, you name it. The whole, you just go look at Charterpedia, type in Charterpedia, Google, and see how would you like it, if I were to come and rob you away, your mobile home shelter, that the car is immobile. The car is immobile. It's 3:30 in the morning. Of course, the car, I'm turning the car on every now and then because it's minus 25, minus 30. The car does get cold. We just happened to be near Octopus, and, I did not realize that my headlights are pointing at someone else's kitchen. So, somebody comes along, trying to scare, well, he sounded like he was concerned about my safety, and he came, but the way he approached us, it's like, come on, easy, buddy. Like, get off your high horse. Came charging at us with his truck, and he came very close to me. He did not even get off the car. He just came and stopped very close to my window. I'm in the driver's seat, and I lowered my window, and he's like, you go, like, he's checking on us if we were okay. I thought that was a nice gesture, but the way he approached us wasn't very inspiring confidence, so to speak. So I said, yeah, we're okay. We're just here. We're sleeping. I have a trip to continue in the morning. But for some reason, I felt off. Like, I did not want to stay there. And I go and basically, let me see if I can get some light here. I want to get some light. Forget it. So basically, he runs off, and I'm thinking to my head, I don't want further trouble. I don't want to be, called here, flagged for some suspicious activity. So I drive. I was near the Siberian, not Siberian. Yeah, Siberian Orthodox Church near Octopus. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to drive, perhaps go to the next, maybe, kind of like, station, so to speak. But I driving, and it's too, like, it's 3:30 in the morning. It's cold. I don't want to drive, so I'm tired. I figured, it's more safer for me just to pull on the side of the road, as far as I can, and it's not a major route, so it's like 3:30 in the morning. There's no traffic. There's hardly any traffic, right? I mean, I've only perhaps maybe saw one or two cars the entire 2 hours we were there. When the cops showed up and all that. If it was not 2 hours, at least an hour and a half. Anyways, so, and this is kind of my issue, is that, when a child law, suddenly in the name of my safety and, Safety Traffic Act, regulation that, the car is immobile, suddenly you're coming at me telling me that, I have my driver license suspended. Well, guess what? I made it from Ottawa to Calgary, without any incident. And, if now suddenly you're coming at me with some, allegation that I have yet to receive, if anything. I mean, according to the RCMP officer, it was no other than the 19th of January that my driver license has been suspended indefinitely for medical reasons. But okay, where is your proof? Where's your evidence? And, this is before the court that, if anything, I have the story. You have no story. You have no evidence on you. I have the evidence. And now you are in breach of public trust. You are, you are accused of being ignorant of the law yourself, Section 19 of the Criminal Code, right? Like I said earlier, you know that you have no jurisdiction over me in the first place when I give you my passport. And, the cop, like, he acts surprised, like it's the first time he sees a Canadian passport. So, but there's the reason why I gave him my passport. First, the car is not moving. Second, I am asserting my natural right as a Canadian citizen to travel from point A to point B, right? And it's not because, I knew I had my driver license suspended. I did not know, like I said. So, and now they are trying to seek greater punishment. So, I mean, again, come on. Like, I'm telling you, are, in good faith that I did not know. Now, suddenly, you're telling me you're acting in good faith. Now you impound my vehicle. Not only that, but now you seek, the extra punishment because, I have been convicted previously with driving a suspended driver license. Like I told you, on both accounts, I did not know. Not this time and not the previous time. So, otherwise, why would I, renew my suspended driver license? If I am about to go and drive my vehicle without a driver license, why would I renew my driver license on the 6th of September when I was assaulted by Ottawa police on the 24th for allegedly, committing the offense of driving while suspended? So why would I be, released out of jail to go and inquire about what happened and, renew my license? Even though I did not consent to the charges, but nonetheless, I need to go about my day in business. I can always reclaim the costs. But here I am, I'm a law-abiding citizen. So, go figure. So the idea of me sharing the story is just to kind of, educate and, perhaps maybe get the right people to hear this. Because at the end of the day, the law is not a question of wishful thinking. It's not he said, she said. It's a question of facts and evidence. And I have the evidence, I have the facts. For all I know, and as far as I'm concerned, I am essentially the subject. I have been the subject myself and my friend. We are, he's also Syrian and he's been traumatized. I mean, the guy has a disability. He has a disability from, one of his arms are missing, right? And, he's gone through, a lot of stress recently. He's going through, a child custody battle with his wife. He's only been in the country for 2 years and he's Syrian and he's also Muslim and he's also, going through some, court battle because nobody's perfect. But again, there's no reason why, the police and the city of Calgary or whoever it is that, on the, civil code side of things gets involved and breaches the privacy and invades the privacy of, a family unit, a Muslim family unit, that is, not just any family unit, a Muslim family unit. And I'm not preaching for, so-called, the Islamophobia now. People are going to come at me, Sharia law. I'm not calling for that. I'm just simply calling for, the justice system to uphold the natural rights and freedom for those visible minority and those who are of, vulnerability, so to speak. And, we are vulnerable people. We are minority, 100,000, Muslim that they call themselves Muslim, of Muslim faith here in Calgary. But, you don't have a single leader that represents the issues that are, on a daily basis. So you go to the mosque, and this is kind of where I'm coming at here. So we go to the mosque, my brother and I. Previous to that, we had gone to the sheikh or the imam. The imam, basically, it translates to the word, leader in Arabic. So he's a leader. He's a leader of the Muslim community in Calgary, over 100,000 or close to 100,000, Muslim, in this community. There's the greater Imam, the Imam al-Akbar, so to speak, for Calgary area, I don't have to mention names. You're smart enough to go and figure it out. So, we meet this man and he tells us, go see, Sheikh al-Akbar, so to speak, the greater Imam of Calgary. Okay. And that person essentially tells us, I don't want to disclose his name because he had asked to keep it confidential. So, nonetheless, we go now. We arrive to the house of the Imam. It was late at night. Knock, knock, around 9 o'clock. Okay. So, does not answer. No problem. I realize, what, maybe it's too late. Me and my friend here, we're trying to speak to somebody just to kind of share our story and, just see what kind of things, like how can we go on a search. I know what to do. I left Ottawa. I was released out of jail for myself, but I know what to do for myself. I have a court before the Supreme Court of Canada. I know what I'm talking about. But again, why is it that we as Muslim, we are here? I have been treated the way I was treated with the RCMP. Like I need a place. I need a shelter. We have no place to live. Like I showed you earlier, the pictures above my head. That was no other but like an Indian brother. He's helping us. Everybody else has rejected our application. Yeah, I understand my credit score is not the best, but I'm not seeking that. I'm here with two of us. So the three of us, we can easily, basically, get the help we need from, the community, and that's why we go into the community, right? We're Muslim, right? We go to the community. I mean, we don't want to go get. I'm not here for social assistance. I'm a Canadian entrepreneur. I'm an aerospace electronics engineer, but I've been, treated wrong by no other than the. Ontario government, Quebec government, and their stooges, so to speak. So this is kind of where I am, and now I see the same treatment, and my brother is, going through things. Myself and my brother, we are in the car, we get subject to the treatment that, we were subject to, where it was a clear violation of my national rights and freedom, pursuant to Section 52(1) of the Act. The Constitution is a supreme law of the land. So, any laws that are of the effect, in contradiction of the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, are null and void. Yet this RCMP, even though it's a federal entity, headquartered in Ottawa, so they represent the crown, they are like federal, they should know this. They should know this. 1867, that's when Canada came to, came to exist for the first time, right? The Dominion, right? The Dominion came to exist because you had Upper Canada, Lower Canada, or Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia that formed Canada first. Alberta later joined. Alberta joined much later time. And, there's a preferential treatment, right, for the first four provinces. And that's why, for example, most of the time, if not all times, the votes are, and the election results are decided by the eastern provinces, have Ontario and Quebec, because we have 25 million people here in Canada. Whereas, Alberta is only 4.5 million people, all of Alberta. So, city of Ottawa is about 1 million people, whereas Alberta is 4.5. So we have about, 18% population. Ottawa population is about 18% of whole Alberta. And, then you have the entire, spiel and shenanigan about net zero and how, the premier of the province of Alberta, no other than Ms. Danielle Smith herself, she's asserting the province's, right, sovereignty, right? And that's, again, Section 92 of the BNA Act, because, you can do that when the central government and the federal government, that is, which is nothing but a, it's administrative, so to speak, it's central, right? They have no idea about the people needs and the land, natural resources, so to speak. So now that is a jurisdiction of the province, because, those natural resources, are utilized and used to basically benefit the people of the land, not some foreign entity, right? So this is why the jurisdiction, of natural resources belongs to that of the province, not that of the federal government. And, you had Alberta winning the Supreme Court because, Ms. Danielle Smith has challenged Ottawa in court, and, they wanted the, King's Bench, I believe, with the Queen's Bench. And then, I believe it doesn't matter. King's, Queen's, same. And then, you have essentially the Supreme Court of Canada, and, Ottawa is just, lawless. So it's just a lawless town, man. Like, they are just going against, against Supreme Court order, directive, it's orders. So, where is justice? Where's, you talk about, Middle East and dictatorship and, how you want to spread democracy in the Middle East and, how people can speak their minds and whatnot. Like, listen, I've been tasered.
I have been tasered for speaking my mind because I asserted my natural right. Because when the police officer in Ottawa, he's only been here for 9 months. Understand, people, he's only been here for 9 months. When I speak with the man, when I was handcuffed in the back of the cruiser following the incident with the Ottawa police, they released me the first time around, and then it was their word, not my word, that they would not confiscate or seize my vehicle. Because remember, I had my suspended driver license. But suddenly now I come back within 20 minutes and the whole spiel where you see a video about me basically, going all Tupac. I'm going all Tupac on the cops, not because I want to disrespect and go, profanity, a rap, freestyle. No, it's because, I've been just assaulted by no other than the very peace officer they call themselves, to basically protect my life, overseas, but they failed to do so right here in our backyard. So I was assaulted, tasered, without even, being given the chance to, kind of verify the facts and maybe perhaps de-escalate the situation. Remember, they are the cops. I am not. I'm just one incident. I mean, they are the one on the road, 12 hours a day shift. So they should be trained about how to approach the public, because, we have people of all walks of life. The least you need to do is to be able to speak, English and French, because we live in Canada. And yes, we do have illegal problems. We have a lot of illegals. So you must be able to produce identification when requested, but that's not for the police enforcement to use that as a reason for you to go to jail just because maybe you look indigenous or you look some other way and you look suspicious. They have nothing on you, but suddenly they just randomly start, IDing you. There is no reason for them to do that. But if that the government is, and the world is in a state on edge and alert, and we have Trump that is basically, pushing 25% tariff, which I believe is already imposed, and energy has, kind of a break at 10% only because they also benefit, right? So then you understand that maybe, you should understand that there is danger, there's risk, for you, and you should just take precautions. And that's why I keep my passport on me all the time. So that's kind of where I am in life. And the idea that when we go see this Imam, he's the Sheikh Al-Akbar for the Calgary area. We go the first time around, he was, it was dark at night, 9 o'clock. Okay, I understand. He was not expecting visitors. We go the next day, it was like -25. Like, I get to the guy's house and I'm shoveling the snow for him because, we get to his place and I see the steps full of snow. So I shovel the snow for the man and then off I go. But I notice there's a camera. So I'm pretty sure that the person, is looking through the camera to see who is at least outside his house and maybe making the noise shoveling. Right? And the truck, I noticed he's got a very nice truck. He's got a very nice truck, man. Even engineers do not afford that kind of truck, right? And then suddenly, the third day, today actually, not today, yesterday, today's Friday, the plan was to go today to the mosque. But yesterday, Thursday, my brother and I, we went to the, before we, we had woken up, and then he asked me if he wanted to try one more time to go see the, the Sheikh Al-Akbar, right? So I'm like, what, fine, let's go. It's Thursday. Why not? So we go, and this time around, somebody answers the door from behind the door. They just barely open the door. Like, you don't see a person's face. It barely open. It cracks the door open, and then from behind the door, she's saying who this is. We're saying hello. Can we see the Sheikh Al-Akbar? And then she tells us, oh, he's not here. He's at the mosque. Go figure. And I'm looking at the damn truck outside parked. I'm like, okay, let me guess. How the hell do you go to the mosque? Like, apparently he has been gone for Fajr prayer. Fajr prayer means, morning prayers. Like, this is like at 6 o'clock in the morning, in Calgary. And like, we are here friggin' like at, 9 o'clock, and the guy's been there since then and has not come back yet. Okay, great, mashallah. He's praying all day long. He's like, he's ta'ta nasbaha. So I'm thinking, okay, give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to be, kind of jumping to conclusion just yet. I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt. This is the third time around, though. And this is the Imam. This is the leader. This is the leader of the Muslim community in Calgary. Over 100,000 or close to 100,000 people. So what happens? We go to the mosque. We get to the mosque. 12:30. I mean, the prayer is about to start, man. The guy's still not there. He's not showed up. Suddenly he comes on his high horse, the same truck that we just saw outside his damn house. Listen, man, I'm not upset against the fact that maybe you do not want or you do not wish to see us at your residence. But understand, you are entrusted as the Imam of this Muslim community, so you are supposed to be at the mosque. That's how you receive your livelihood. How else you get your livelihood? It's not sadaqah, it's not zakah. You're getting paid because you are the imam. You have functions to do. You have responsibilities and duties to represent the jali, the community, and then answer to their questions, and help them with their problems. And we came because we were pledging. We need a place. Myself, my buddy Abdul, and my brother Ammar, the three of us. We're looking for a place because here we are. Like I showed you the picture. Now it's dark. I don't want to turn the light on because my brother here is sleeping and he's not feeling well today. He's been off all day. All day he's been off. He's been vomiting and he's been off. And I'm just been here trying take care of the man and my brother and taking care of him. So my other friend also has gone to sleep. Because he too had gone to hospital and came back for his shot. Because again, when you see injustice and you can relate and resonate with what they tell you, and what has transpired, and when you relate that to your own experience, I have no reason to not believe that in one of my friend's case he's innocent, and I know that, just like I'm innocent because I know that I have my evidence, I have my facts, and again I understand how the law works. And when we go and suddenly the imam shows up and he's on his high horse, he's on his phone, he doesn't want to, he parks in the disability parking spot, he jumps off the damn thing, he jumps off the vehicle. I'm thinking about okay, what, I thought you were disabled, man. I'm thinking in my head, handicapped. But he's on the phone. So my brother, he goes and he, goes about, to kiss his hand. And this is something, if you're, of a Muslim, denomination, you have what they call Kabir or Sayyid. So, you kiss the man of the Sayyid or the Imam or the leader. So, he is the man who will kind of guide you and advise you as to what to do within the rule of the law, because remember these are the imams, these are the people who understand the Quran and the book and what we call Quran is for Islam and all that, and the hadith and the sunnah, and they tell you all sort of things that you need to know as a Muslim. You go seek their guidance and advice, right? Bullshit, man, bullshit. This guy has nothing to do with imamhood. He is a stooge imam. Again, you're smart, you're more than smart enough to figure out who that person, but he's a stooge imam. Listen, you go to the prayer. You go to the prayer. They go after you. They friggin' cling onto you. They cling like they want your money. Donation. Like the prayer hasn't ended yet. Donation. Because Friday. This is the 7 days a week. People only pray now 1 day a week. So it's Friday. So why the fuck are you going to work in the first place? I mean, the Christians they have their day on Sunday. Jews have their day on Saturday. You maybe should call for your own day on Friday. I mean, we have enough Muslims in this nation. But this is the kind of the bullshit that, when you are, calling and going to the mosque and the institutions, so to speak, that are, there to represent you, because at the end of the day, you are busy with your life, about to go about your life. But when there's an oppression, there's a systemic, prejudice, there's systemic, racism and discrimination against a specific entity. Just because I am Muslim, perhaps I'm being treated the way I've been treated. Right? Just because I speak what I speak, because I know what I know. It's not because I'm preaching for Islam. Go. You believe what you believe, man. Power to you. But if your faith of your belief system, calls for the killing of innocent people, innocent civilian, well, guess what? That's on you. I don't believe in that. So it's not like the laws are for thee and not for me. And the Constitution is exactly that. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So Section 52(1) is the supreme law of the land in Canada, right? And in that, and Part 1. So that's Part 7, by the way. Part VII, for those who don't understand Roman numerals. VII is 7. Part 7, 52, Section 1. That is your, supremacy clause. And then, when you go back to the Part 1, Section 1, 2, that is the fundamental natural rights and freedom, which basically the Constitution is there to safeguard your inalienable natural rights and freedom. Why do they call it inalienable? From the word alien. So it's in as in not. Inalienable. It's not alienable. Why? Because, I cannot take it away from you and give it to somebody else. You cannot take it from me and give it to somebody else. You cannot even take your own inalienable natural right and give it to somebody else. So, for example, breathing. You can't breathe, you die. Because, if you don't breathe, you're dead. And this is kind of where we are. So, the common law essentially is a moot argument. You do not argue common law. So, you argue natural law. And, you go and you speak the facts and you stand before the court by yourself. The court allows you to represent yourself, but then they bombard you with all these, court forms and procedures because, God forbid, you submit the wrong form, the wrong font, the wrong, spacing. It's like, man, nobody wants to talk to you. So, I'm just sharing the experience because, listen, law is, the law is very clear and very simple to understand. The application of the law and getting justice is where the problem is. So you have, you have lower courts, what they call municipal courts. You have the lower courts. So in Alberta, it's called AB, Alberta court, so to speak. And then you go to the Alberta King's Bench, which is the equivalent of the Superior Court of Justice in Ontario or Quebec. Similar to that, we have, Ontario courts for lower courts, Superior for superior. And in each province, you have the same kind of structure. You have a lower court, municipalities, counties, and so forth. Then you have the provincial courts, which essentially are upholding the, Constitution, because you have then the federal. So the federal essentially is the supreme law of the land. And any child law, whether it's on the province level or on the municipality level, that breaks the supreme law of the land is to the effect null and void. And that is the crux of the matter. It's not about you stopping me because my suspended driver license, I'm upset. No, I'm upset because I did not know. There has been, numerous attempts by no other than the Stooges in Ottawa to keep me at bay for the knowledge that I'm sharing with you for free. It's been over an hour right now. So I'm going to try just to maybe put some light, because it's getting dark here, and maybe my friend, I need to check on him. Yeah. 1 second. All right, there we go. There's some light. So I hope that was educational for you. And this is my friend. He's been out. He's been out since the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up early, and he went outside. I got my vape, so I'm vaping outside, and then he comes out. I was so happy to see him, but since 9 o'clock in the morning, he's been like this, and he hasn't eaten. I've made him tea multiple times. The tea has gone cold. I don't understand. I don't understand why such a man has to go through this. For what? For what? If you have a domestic case with your wife, that should be private between you and your wife. But now, again, there are people who are being complicit and conspiring to destroy his nuclear family. And again, it's not about, his wife or himself. It's about the kids, the best interest of the kids. And the kids have the natural right to enjoy their father and their mother just as equally. And again, this is part of why I'm speaking about this, because remember, in Quebec, the school board, the Western School Board of Quebec, and the, Southern, or it's called South Hull Elementary School, have, violated and breached their trust. They violated my natural right as a father for my daughter, and they separated me from my child. So, that's kind of where my Supreme Court of Canada case is, but everything is connected. So when I come to Alberta here, because I'm escaping tyranny and prejudice, defamation and, systemic racial profiling and social and, belief, just because of what I believe. I'm not Muslim. You don't see me in the mosque praying, man. So that very day, when I saw that Sheikh Al-Akbar came to the mosque, on that day I did not pray in the mosque, because I refused to pray behind a man who calls himself the Imam Al-Akbar, and then at the end of the day, he fails to talk to the Jaliyah about their own needs and problems. So that man to me is not Imam. He's a stooge. And like at the end of the day, you gotta answer. You remember, you can maybe fool all the people, but at the end of the day, you cannot fool yourself. So yeah. So that's very, what I have to say. That's all I have to say. And I'm not choosing to have this as part of my so-called testimony or affidavit. So I'm going to make this public, so everybody can hear and understand. And there's nothing here that I share that is confidential, so to speak. And here's my other brother Ammar. Say hello. You're on video, being recorded. Say hello. Say hello to the world.
Hello.
He's from Sweden and Syria, mashallah. I grew up on a farm in Dara, actually, when I was a little boy. And I was born in, Al Yarmouk camp, Bukhaym Al Yarmouk, Damascus, Syria. I came here. So we have a lot in common. We three of us Syrian. The poor guy is from Aleppo. My friend Ammar, brother Ammar, is from Sweden. And we were just reflecting on what happened and about the Sheikh. What do you think of the Sheikh, Ammar? Is he a Sheikh you should pray behind?
No.
Yeah, because a Sheikh does not lie, no matter what happens, the circumstances. We're being held by Indians, Sikh brothers, not Muslim brothers. Because remember, brotherhood is not by just the way you pray. It's you talk to people and get faith. And faith is one. And that's kind of my message. At the end of the day, I do not discriminate. I do not look at you. Look, like I said, I wear my hair like this. Maybe the sheikh, the imam, he sees me like this. He thinks I'm a Sikh or some shit. I don't know. Like he has some prejudice against my long hair. Like I am not a righteous Muslim. Perhaps I do not fit the profile of a good Muslim. I have long hair. I must be an infidel. Like go figure, man. Like this is kind of the shit that I'm talking about. That people do not understand that why they are being brainwashed, and the same applies for the Christians, my friend. Nobody's safer from this. So you gotta understand. There's dogma, indoctrination, and there's faith. And when you go back to your book, that is your faith. And I'm not here to preach, so I'm here just to fight for my case, man. Like I said, Section 92 BNA Act 1867, Section 1, 2, you name it, 6, 7, 8, 12, 15, Part 1 of the Constitution Act 1982. That is my natural rights and freedom. And to add, just to give you more over, you can throw the United Nations Directive for Indigenous People Rights, in DRIP 2021 SC, right? You can add that just because now they're catching up. And the last one, maybe you could throw the criminal code, which is their civil code, and they have broken their own code book, so to speak. And now with all this, there will be restitution, right? But first, we have Truth and Reconciliation Day on the September the 30th, I believe. We celebrate, right? And you don't have to be like a First Nation to be the subject of, so to speak, the atrocities that have been committed in North America. And the colonists know this. I'm not speaking my history. I'm just sharing Canadian history that I am proud of, right? I'm not proud of that history because I'm Indigenous myself. But it's good to understand, because once you understand the history, you can learn from the mistakes. And so far, unfortunately, the way I see it, humanity has not, or has yet to learn from the mistakes of the past and the experience. And now we are on World War III doorsteps. And, I'm crazy for speaking my mind, perhaps, incapacitated, because that's the Stooges, argument that, when they got me in jail the first time, when I was incarcerated for 6 days, they wanted 30 days. The Crown Prosecutor in Ottawa wanted 30 days. Why? 30 days because I had a similar allegation before the court in a different jurisdiction called Quebec. Last I checked, I'm not convicted. And last I checked, you have no jurisdiction to check and search me, because that would be prejudice. That would be basically, there's a fundamental justice here, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And I have not been convicted, so why are you trying to go? And that my case is being dropped, because when you were looking at my file, I was pulled over on the 24th. I was sworn in on the 25th of August. And I had already finished my August 16th date in Quebec, and I had been given a date for my Superior Court of Justice on the 10th of September. So, you figured you're too smart. 25th till the 25th, that's 30 days. Thereby, I would be, missing and forfeiting my right to defend myself in the Superior Court of Justice in Quebec. And guess what? I'm incarcerated for life. Huh? Nobody, because you have your plan, but that's bullshit plan, because the truth always wins. So that's why you keep losing. That's why you keep losing, and you keep chasing me for no reason. And now here I am in Alberta, where Octopus RCMP themselves are in breach of trust, public trust, Section 122 of the Criminal Code, and they themselves are ignorant of the law. Which law, you ask? The Supreme Law of the land. They are a federal entity. They should know better. I mean, I'm not talking to a schmuck, city police, right? You have blue stripes, you have red stripes for provincial, and then you have, yellow stripes for federal. So I'm talking to some competent cops, perhaps, but maybe you're too new. Or is that discrimination again against some Indigenous Palestinian who happens to know his rights and responsibility as a law-abiding citizen? Peace.